New World, Amazon Games' ambitious, sprawling, open-world MMO, was launched in September 28, 2021 to much fanfare and player interest. I should know. I was one of the many creators right there on day one covering the launch. However, the road to this launch was far from smooth. New World was first revealed in September 2016 at TwitchCon. Amazon Game Studios announced they'll be working on their first 3 PC games, Breakaway, Crucible, and New World. However, in March 2018, Breakaway was cancelled, leaving the team to focus on the other 2 titles. And on October 9th, 2020, Relentless Studios announced their cancellation of Crucible, leaving all studios to aid the development of New World. On July 20th, 2021, the game was launched as a closed beta. However, even then there were problems. As it was reported on the very next day, many high-end NVIDIA RTX 3090 graphics cards manufactured by EVGA were being bricked whilst running the game. It was theorized that the absence of an FPS limiter on the menu screens in-game caused the GPUs to render almost 9,000 frames per second at full load, and in response, Amazon said that they would implement an FPS limit on the menu screens. Despite these hurdles and many others, on September 28, 2021, Amazon Game Studios released and published New World globally. 5 server regions were available on launch: Australia, East Coast US, Europe, South America, and West Coast of US. And on the day of the game's release, Steam recorded over 700,000 concurrent players. This unfortunately proved difficult for the New World servers to handle, with many players reporting extensive queue times, with New World's most popular servers occasionally reaching the 25,000 person limit. This was caused by the limited capacity in each server, which only allowed 2,000 players to be connected simultaneously. Amazon did respond to this problem quickly by introducing additional servers in all regions and explaining that they're undergoing tests to increase the server cap from 2,000. They also announced that players will be able to transfer their characters between servers for free, enabling players to begin playing on low populated servers without the risk of not being able to play on high density servers with friends later on. Even later down the line, the problems with New World were far from over, with many players citing a feeling of a lack of endgame content density, an extensively slow leveling up process in order to even reach endgame content in the first place, and with one of the mainstay headline features, guild versus guild wars over territory, ending up basically becoming dominated on most servers by 1 or 2 guilds controlling 2 key pieces of territory, players have been understandably reluctant to return to Eternium. This, however, is where I come in. You see, the purpose of their introduction and the brief history of Amazon's New World so far wasn't so much as to deck on Amazon and to showcase all their failures, but more to say that I understand, that I've been there, I've seen this game through day one all the way to the present day. I know what it's been like, and so hopefully that should give a little more weight to when I say that I think this game is now really worth another look. Let's dive into this in a little more detail. On the 16th of August, I, along with a few other creators, was invited to an industry event in London. The whole thing was very hush-hush, but during this event does give the opportunity to see what New World has been up to this last year, and what it has in store for its new expansion, Brimstone Sands. Brimstone Sands is the biggest update being added to New World since its launch in 2021, and will begin rolling out on the public test realm in early September, so feedback can be gathered from players to fine-tune the content before it goes into the live game in October. The 3 specific areas that are focused on Brimstone Sands are an updated new player experience, the addition of a brand new weapon, the GREATSWORD, and a brand new zone being added to Eternium called Brimstone Sands. In order to make sure this video doesn't end up being a 30-minute marathon of a video, I'm going to break up each of these 3 key areas into their own individual, more in-depth video. And in this one, focus on the overview and give you a general taste of what's to come and why I'm so excited about it. So Brimstone Sands is unlike anything else we've seen before in the game. The zone is 3 times the size of any other zone, so take 2 or 3 of the regular zones, stick them together, and that's the size of Brimstone. It is this gorgeous new combination of Egyptian-style architecture, Alexandria-style city in a big, enormous desert filled to the brim with Egyptian-themed and actually Roman Legion-themed enemies. The whole location is an endgame zone for endgame content play, so plenty of new places to explore, plenty of tough enemies to fight, and tons of brand new story quests to engage with, all of which is fully voice acted to a pretty goddamn high standard. Next up is the Greatsword. So the hotly anticipated brand new weapon to be added to the game, the Greatsword is obviously a two-handed weapon that uses stances to adapt to the changing conditions of the battlefield. It's a really versatile weapon that I had a ton of fun using and scales evenly with strength and dexterity, allowing it to pair with a large number of other martial weapons. I'll go over this weapon in more detail in a separate video to give you a real in-depth look at the skill tree and how it plays. But finally, we have the revamped new player experience, and arguably one of the most important parts of this entire update. The early level gameplay of New World has been redone, so players who start the game or roll a new character will experience brand new stories and quests in the first 25 levels of the game. So this includes quest flow, a number of new quest dynamics, a revised onboarding to stay focused on the central storyline, new characters, new enemies, new major locations, and new challenges in quests and in the open world. This, coupled with changes already in the game, such as a vastly reduced Azoth cost to teleport around the world, the player auction house being made global rather than in town specific only, and with an improved leveling experience focusing on speed to make sure that players can get to the in-game content, New World is really starting to shape up, and is a game that I believe is truly worth exploring again. Now, one of the awesome parts of this event that I went to was the opportunity to go and sit down with creative lead David Verfaillie and talk to him a bit about the game, what his team's been focusing on, and ask him a few questions that I come up with and my community come up with as well. Now, I have to apologize for the audio quality here. Unfortunately, the interview room itself was extremely echoey, and I'm not a professional at the whole live interview thing. But nonetheless, the first question I asked him was how he felt that the new Brimstone Sands was going to really improve and open up endgame and endgame content to players out there looking for more than just the two original dungeons.
So Brimstone Sands is an endgame zone, so all the enemies are going to be 60 plus. We'll see up to 67 type enemies. And what we really wanted to do there was add a bunch of endgame content. So we've got a new expedition. We've got a ton of elite POIs, so if you like doing chest runs, there's lots of cool areas to do that. And what's great is it introduces a new storyline, right? Like I think, and a story after the Isabella arc. So we're calling that Act 1, right? The whole story of corruption in Isabella. And now we're introducing Act 2, the Rise of the Angry Earth, and Adiana is going to play a major role in this. So what I like about this is it gives people that are in Endgame another reason to quest and sort of experience story again. So I think, there is a natural tendency in MMOs to, sort of do all the questing and then open up the sandbox and the endgame a little bit. And this hopefully gives people another reason to go back and sort of do some more questing.
I then asked how much extra content would be added to the game in terms of hours with the addition of Brimstone Sands.
I have not done that math, but to just sort of like walk you through it. So it's a huge zone. I don't know if you got a chance to just zoom out and look at it. It's about, it's about the size of 3 normal zones.
It is massive.
And there's tons of different biomes and areas in it, right? I don't know if you saw the sulfur flats, there's the pyramid, there's the oasis, there's the pure desert. There's lots of these cool sort of, Roman areas where the corrupted legion are. So there's just a ton of area to explore. It's, the biggest zone yet. There's tons of quests like we just talked about. One of the neat things about Brimstone Sands, it's the first zone where we really have 2 distinct quest lines. So we have what we call the MSQ, the main story quest line, which is going to be all about Adiana and the Angry Earth. But we also have what we call a ZQ, a zone quest line. And that's going to be all about Crassus and the corrupted legion. Like, how did the Roman Empire get here? Why did they become corrupted? So there's 2 unique stories to delve into and to figure out. Another cool thing just to hint at, we also have 3 of these concept art cinematics that we've introduced at various points. So we have a couple, cinematic beats in there also. So I think in total there's over 65 quests. There's the huge zone. There's the expedition, which will then be mutated. So you'll have all that. There's 6 elite POIs. We just, every zone as I think about it, more and more stuff comes up. We've added these really cool secret glyphs. So there's 26 glyphs hidden throughout Brimstone Sands. And each one that you find unlocks various things. Like a couple of them unlock these 2-way teleport pads. So there's lots of just fun exploration too. So, I haven't counted it up, but it's hours.
After this, I then went ahead and asked if there was going to be a level cap increase.
So this zone will not have a level cap increase. We thought about it for a little bit. We didn't want to increase the level yet, and we also didn't want to increase power again. We did that when we introduced mutations, and I think people are still sort of developing their gear sets, getting them all, optimized. And we just recently changed all the perks and rebalanced them. So we felt like, now increasing the gear score would be a little much. So instead what we did was we added a little more horizontal progression. I don't know if you got to try out the Heart Gem runes. Okay. So it's a new mechanic that we introduced in Brimstone Sands. So it's a new ability that players can use. It's not a part of their weapons, right? So it's a part of the player themselves. They insert it sort of like the Heart Gem. So it's neat. You can it's a third basically combination. You've got your 2 weapons and now your Heart Gem. So rather than increase power with Brimstone Sands, we've introduced this, and you'll unlock the Heart Gem rune as a part of the quest lines. And that'll be something now that you can sort of do to, create a little more diversity in builds without just sort of increasing numbers again.
The next question was pretty obvious and was a question about the new player experience and how it was designed and how it was going to be able to bring players like yourselves back into the game and also entice new players as well.
I think in a number of ways. One, like you said, it is now a streamlined experience, right? Like, so it's more of a linear path from the starting beach. We have these now chapterized stories. So the first one is about the Corruption Storm, and then Lost Hope, and then the Soul Warden. So it's a linear journey through the territories. And I think what that does is it helps people, when you first start a game, it's overwhelming, especially in MMO, right? There's so many different systems and so many things. This helps keep people a little bit more on rails and experience the game in order. And the second thing we've done, so we hope that helps guide players. And second, I think, just to be frank, like there were improvements we could have made on the experience. So lots of new quest types, right? Like, so a lot of the quests before were more oriented towards kill quests and loot this. We've added now puzzles, different interactions, traversal, so a lot more quest variety. The second thing we've done is, with that more linear path and some changes we've made to how NPCs move with you along that path, there's a lot less running back and forth, which I think, that can get grating, if you have a couple hours to play and you spend half of the time just running back and forth. Now you get to experience the content with more density and a more appropriate cadence. And then last, I think the story's just better, right? Like, I think one of the things I love about New World is the world itself. It's just this beautiful place and this wonderful world. And I think what we've really tried to do is elevate the story so that the quality of the story matches the quality of the visuals, right? So we have these new wonderful storylines that we've added about, the Arthurian king coming back with Sir Gawain. We have the Medea storyline with the famine and feast. So I think new storylines and also some new ways of telling story. All the VO is in now for the quest. We've also added some concept cinematics to help tell the story. So we're really just looking to push that, the quality of the questing, the quality of the story, and make it a more optimized path through.
I then laid out a pretty tricky question, and one that was focused primarily on PvP. Specifically, the question was whether or not they were aware of the monopoly that owning Windsward and Everfall could give a guild, and how that had negatively affected the overall guild versus guild gameplay.
Absolutely. It's definitely something we're aware of, and it's something we don't like. This idea that, owning these 2 territories produces so much income that the groups that own them sort of, run away with it. And I think, so we're aware of that. It's definitely something we don't want. We do have something in the works that we believe is going to address it. We haven't announced it yet, so I can't give too much details, but we do feel like we want to distribute that income in a more equitable manner so that all the territories are worth fighting for. Because I think, one, it will make sure that 2 or 3 companies that own the big territories don't run away. And 2, if we could make all the territories a little more valuable, it would increase the desire to war and do that with all these territories.
After this question, we got to talking a little bit about the new player experience, just the general player experience, and how things were going to proceed moving forward, what the intentions were moving forward.
So the idea is we want players to experience this new leveling and then graduate into the end game. And we want that, at the start of the game, it took a long time when we first released the game. And that's because I think we didn't have as much end game content then. Now we have a lot more end game content, so we're okay with people going through this a little quicker and then getting to that. So it's a little more punchier, it's quicker, and then we get you to the end game and you can enjoy all that.
That sounds fantastic. I'm just, it's looking good. And, looking at the presentation you did earlier on, I was like, I was seeing some of the updates. Because it was a bit of an update for me, because I haven't played it in a while. I was like, I hadn't realised that you made, inventory global, which is fantastic. I'm so glad about that.
And the trading post also, right?
The trading post global as well really helps economically speaking.
And fast travel, like if you, fast travel's not free now, but it's almost free, and
Yeah,
we
it's
have
a
more
lot.
points. If you look at Brimstone Sands, I think there's 11 fast travel points in there. So it's easier to get around, it's easier to store stuff, you know, just trying to reduce friction and let people enjoy the game.
100%, I do appreciate that. Those new revamps for those areas look fantastic. They really, really look good.
I appreciate that. And I think, so Charles Bradbury, the art director, the goal he had was to make each settlement have a unique character, right? And when you look at the new Monarch's Bluff, it's like, it is an Arthurian castle.
Oh,
And
100%, yeah.
what's great is it's up on the bluff, right? Like that's where it gets its name. So as you walk towards it and you see the castle in the distance, you're like, oh my
The
god.
action was always really strong in
Yeah.
New World. It was a beautiful game that came out, so it's really glad to see it double down and pushing forward that, you know.
Cool.
But, yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
So once more, I just want to say a massive thank you to David for taking the time to do that interview with me, and also just to New World in general for inviting me to this event and just being so transparent with what they've got going on and giving me the opportunity to just ask questions, just look at the game, to just experience it myself and have an unfettered access to all the new content. That's also all I've got time for in this particular video. However, I will be again going back into those 3 major areas: the revamped player experience, the Greatsword, and a bigger, deeper look into Brimstone Sands. I want to say thank you very much all, by the way, so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed the content and you want to see more, make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and of course commenting in the channel description down below. Of course, I do take a look at all of those, and I do try to respond to as many of them as I possibly can. Also, we are live on Twitch 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, 9 PM BST, 4 PM EST, and finally, of course, on TikTok, as well as Twitter and Discord. There are plenty of ways to communicate and become a bigger part of the community. If nothing else, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.